certainly don't want to mislead the court. I did call Mr.
So somebody hit you, that was a hit and run. You didn't call the police, and none of the other two people that were involved in the accident called the police at 9:30.
Now being
Then just blow. So I can be,
Your Honor,
then just blow so
most
I can be
respectfully, I
calm.
don't see the probable cause for me to blow.
All the time.
Take a deep breath, just blow on it.
What's going on, guys? It's Totally Product News. Now, this is a Hall of Fame video that some of you may have seen, but I guarantee you, you do not know the facts that I've uncovered that coincide with this case. Now, on the left, that's Clark County Judge Michelle Levitt, who has the patience of a saint. On the right is inebriated attorney Joseph Carmanga. His defendant, his client, is up for jaywalking. No. Obstruction of justice? No. Kidnapping. Bingo, which carries the term of life in prison. So why not show up 3 sheets to the wind after you suck down a couple of bottles of Grandpa's cough syrup? Now, some of you have seen this video, some of you have not. But I guarantee you, Michelle Levitt, the judge, has had a hell of a career. And there is so much more you need to know. But first, cue the music. If you thought a defense lawyer with a client about to go to trial, facing a life sentence, and showing up 3 sheets to the wind was the craziest part of this story, you would be completely wrong. There are so many extenuating circumstances about the people in this case, it'll blow you away. The video itself is unreal. The happenings around it are unbelievable. So I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of a story that relates to this case. Let's just say Judge Michelle Levitt has had a hell of a career, and I guarantee you won't see what's coming. We'll start with the mildest and end with the craziest. This is prolific thief Damian Dinky Monroe. He tried to hire somebody to kill the detective in his case, Brad Nickel, the state's attorney in his case, Sandra DiGiacomo, and the judge, Michelle Levitt. Mr. Monroe, a.k.a. Dinky, got a life sentence for his crimes. It's weird because he offered them $30,000 up front and $500,000 when the deed was done, yet he could not post bond and he could not afford a lawyer, so he got a public defender. But that's not where it ends. Here's the book written on Monroe's life by a Bradley Nickel. That's the same name as the detective that arrested him. Let's read what he has to say. This was the case of a lifetime. Some detectives may never see a case like this. Nichols says in the film, it was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. The Metro Evidence Vault had to rent a new building just for this case. I think just from the house alone, it was over 1,700 items that were impounded. Nichols says the value of the stolen goods was never appraised because the dollar amount wouldn't affect the case. But he puts the estimate at between $2 and $6 million. So, Bradley Nickel, prolific, one of the most prolific, if you listen to the detective that arrested him, the most prolific thief he's ever come across, is the same man who tried to have him killed, along with the prosecutor, along with Michelle Levitt, the same judge who's presiding over the case with a drunk lawyer. Dinky Monroe was also prosecuted for abusing his daughters, things that involved a stun gun, and I'll let you imagine the rest. And it's up to Mr. Carmanga to stop that from happening. But he showed up to court, 3 sheets to the wind. They're about to pick a jury for a trial. Now, let's start the original video. Joseph Carmanga is in the courtroom of Michelle Levitt. The case, kidnapping. Possible sentence, life. The next couple weeks will be the most important in the defendant's life. In fact, his life hangs in the balance.
Chris.
Okay, that could have been what happened, Officer Vargas. Could he have said, if I called the police, it would have taken over 2 hours?
That's not what I heard, but it's possible.
Okay. Miss Janowski, did you come here with Mr. Caramingo?
I met him outside.
Pardon?
I met him outside.
Because?
Well, no, I mean, I was already there, and then being a friend ran into him.
You were already where?
Courthouse Cafe, you know.
Okay, well, let me just
Oh,
ask
sorry.
her. Okay. So you were downtown at the Courthouse Cafe, and you ran into Mr. Caramango.
Yeah.
Okay. Did he call you and tell you to meet him there?
No, I was just with a couple of my friends that are really friends with him, and he just looked like he was more sport, so I just went to go in front of him.
Okay. But he didn't call you up and say, meet me at the Courthouse Cafe? Do you know him before today?
And not, like, on a personal level, but I know of him.
You know of him, what, from just seeing him on TV, maybe?
No, my friends.
So you know him through friends?
He's a friend of a friend, right?
Okay.
So I just, like, was just, you know...
Are you his ex-girlfriend?
Am I his ex-girlfriend?
Yes. You're not his ex-girlfriend? You never dated him? Okay, you just happened to be in the Courthouse Cafe and with some other friends, and he showed up in the Courthouse Cafe, and he said, come up here?
Yeah. Well, but, you know what I mean, like, for moral support, and he was just talking about how he got in an accident and blah, 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 and I said, well, what, did you? You know what I mean? But I didn't think that I know.
No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. When did you meet him there?
Just, like, I was, like, right before we came up, as we were going into the courthouse.
In the Courthouse Cafe, you're referring to the cafe right across the street?
Yeah.
Like on the south side of the courthouse? And you were there just having breakfast with friends?
Yeah, I was just having a drink with my friends and getting ready to have one.
Having like an alcoholic drink?
No.
Okay, just having a morning drink with your friend and getting ready to go back?
I was just with my friend basically, and then I thought I would just ride up and walk in and go back down. And when I
Okay.
went back down, I was just calling someone else to take me a ride because
Okay, now you don't have a ride?
oh no, I can call someone else to take me a ride, but the police officer cannot got me.
Okay, because that's all. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. You just happened to run into him at the Courthouse Cafe. He didn't call you and tell you to meet him there. Okay, and you just were asked to escort him up here.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You can have a seat. Hey, you know, Mr. Caramango, you told me she was your ex-girlfriend. And so now I'm very upset with you.
I apologize, Your Honor. She was a friend. She was a friend of a friend, and I did ask her to come with me because I was nervous about coming to court late, and I did ask her to accompany me. She's a new acquaintance. She's a friend of a client, and she's not an ex-girlfriend, Your Honor.
She's not an
No,
ex-girlfriend.
Your Honor.
Okay, why did you tell me that?
Judge, I did not want to get her into a situation where she was she was culpable for some wrongdoing. She came as a friend, and I was wrong to represent to the court that she was an ex-girlfriend.
Okay, because why would she be culpable of anything if all she did was... I mean, let me tell you what you told me back in chambers.
Yes, Your Honor.
You told me that you called her on the phone, that you told her to meet you at the Courthouse Cafe because you needed moral support, and that she was your ex-girlfriend, and therefore she met you there, and that's why she was here. And really the only reason I wanted to know is because I just wanted to know if she was involved in the accident with you.
Your
And
Honor,
so you
and
got yourself in this web.
I certainly don't want to mislead the court. I did call Mr. Sharkey, who is a friend of my friend, Mr. Sharkey.
Who's Mr. Sharkey?
Mr. Sharkey was at the Courthouse Cafe with my friend, and I asked her to come with me for moral support because I knew I was an hour and 15 minutes late, and I was not sure whether the court would be understanding of my lateness, despite the accident that I had. And in all honesty, Judge, I wanted someone to come with me.
But you don't even know her, based upon what she
I do,
told
Judge.
me.
I know her for at least 20 minutes. And Your Honor, she's not an ex-girlfriend, but she is a friend. She's a friend of a friend. So, and I apologize if I misled the court in that way. No disrespect to Your Honor.
Janowski could help you, or what you thought she could tell me, but I can tell you, I have never, ever held an attorney. I think I can tell you I've never held an attorney in contempt of court
Your
in
Honor.
all my years. And so let me tell you, I was late. We were late with the criminal calendar. I mean, the criminal calendar went till when, April? We had a first-degree murder sentencing where we had a couple of, so quite frankly, we were running late. So 45 minutes, and plus you made a phone call. That's all I require. I got the phone call, I knew it, and I have never, ever held an attorney in contempt of court, and I certainly have never in my entire career held an attorney in contempt of court for being late. Never.
Your Honor,
I just haven't. So I don't believe anybody told you that.
I'm operating from, I've only been licensed in Nevada since 2003, and I'm operating from what other people have told me. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Your Honor, and I believe Your Honor when you said you never held anyone in contempt.
Never.
And call it,
I didn't say anybody.
call it fear of the unknown, Judge, but, and my experience with you has been nothing but positive. And I was a little bit nervous, and I asked this young lady to accompany me, and that was the reason I asked her to come with me. She's not an ex-girlfriend, she's a friend of a friend, and I apologize for misrepresenting that to the judge. And
who were you talking to back in Chambers? I mean, the nurse left and we couldn't get you off your cell phone.
I was talking to my girlfriend, my fiancée.
Oh, your real girlfriend.
My fiancée.
Okay.
Judge, I don't want to make this a soap opera, and I apologize.
Well, you have.
I know.
I've never seen anything like this in my entire life.
I know,
You
Judge,
turned
yeah.
it into a soap opera.
Judge,
and I'm telling
I'm an
you.
attorney. I've been in the business for 16 years. I've done 67 jury trials, and I feel terrible about this.
Okay, now, again, I just want to make sure, where's your car now?
My car
Because
is-
there's 3 cars involved in this accident. Not one person called the police.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay? So somebody hit you, that was a hit and run. You didn't call the police, and none of the other 2 people that were involved in the accident called the police. So 3 vehicles were involved in an accident at Rancho and Sahara. You told me you left your house at 9 o'clock,
Yes, Your Honor.
although you said you didn't wake up till 9:30. So I'm not quite sure when you left your house. But just tell me the major crossroads of your
Your
house.
Honor, I want to restate that. I woke up at 9:25. I left my house at 10 o'clock, and I was hit at approximately 10:15. My car was not drivable. A good Samaritan helped me push my car to Rancho between Sahara and I guess it's, I'm not sure if it's Twain. I'm not sure
Well, Rancho and Sahara intersect, so you told me back in Chambers that you were going northbound on Rancho,
Yes, Your Honor.
that you made a left to go eastbound on Sahara, and that your car was pushed over into the right lane.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, actually, you told me it was in the lane, but I'm assuming you got
It
it out
was in the
of...
right lane, and someone came and actually pushed me into the turning lane.
And you have a black Audi.
Gray, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. A gray Audi.
A Las Vegas Centennial plate.
Okay.
Judge, if I can just start,
Sure.
if we can make the record. First of all, when Mr. Caramago came in, I was in the courtroom along with the COs and Officer Vargas, who has just told Your Honor what he believed he heard. And that's also what I believed I heard, is Mr. Caramago say, I called the cops and I had to wait for 2 hours. And then they joked about it, about cops not showing up for 2 hours. That was my recollection of the conversation. Judge, additionally, I also heard Mr. Caramago said it was a black Audi, that he was severely rear-ended, that it was pushed off to the side of the road on Sahara. He got a ride from a Good Samaritan and came to the courthouse, where he called his ex-girlfriend to come here for support. That ex-girlfriend's name was Christine.
I know, but now it turns
Who
out
is
Christine
identified
is
now.
really Josephine.
Correct. Judge, he's given us several different time frames of when he got up, when he left, when the accident was. Judge, I can tell you that the follow-up we have done, we have called Detective Vaughn, who was a detective in this case, who was in that area at this time, and Mr. Tomchek has actually talked to Detective Vaughn so he can make those representations.
Judges, as prosecutors, we obviously have an obligation to protect the record and protect this proceeding before Your Honor, and that's why we've taken the steps that we have, because we had representations from counsel this morning that he was prepared to proceed with trial.
Regardless of his injuries.
Right. My observations were observing him that there was clearly something wrong with him. I noticed he was slurring his speech. I noticed he seemed unsteady on his feet. And when actually Mr. Caramago came back into the courtroom, he seemed very unsteady on his feet as he walked by and actually ran into our counsel table. So those concerns, I mean, above and beyond what we've already talked about in here, we wanted to follow up and see if we could maybe shed some light on what actually happened and what his injuries may or may not be. Detective Vaughn is the detective in this case who is scheduled to testify at 1:30 this afternoon. I called him to let him know that we wouldn't need him because we were running behind schedule, and I spoke to him briefly, and he told me he was eating lunch in the area of Sahara and Decatur. So I said, hey, while you're out there, do me a favor. Can you run by on Sahara and see if you see this vehicle? And in fact, he drove up and down Sahara, didn't see the vehicle. I told him it was in the neighborhood of Rancho.
Didn't see the vehicle?
Not on Sahara. He turned onto Rancho and actually saw the vehicle on Rancho, not on Sahara, as Mr. Caramago stated back in Chambers.
It's on Rancho. I said it was on Rancho.
And I certainly don't want to, I'm not trying to throw any dirt on Mr. Caramago. I'm just telling the court what our understanding of this is. Detective Vaughn ran the plates on the vehicle. It does come back to a 2006 Audi. There's no rear end damage in the car, but there is front end damage. And the car is registered to an individual named Christopher Ponto. And Chris is the name that was given, that Mr. Caramago was given as the Good Samaritan that drove him back to court. What all that means, I do not know.
Well, the 2006, there is a 2006 Audi
There's a 2006
on Rancho.
Audi on Rancho, north of Sahara.
On Rancho.
Pardon?
On Rancho.
With front end damage.
And it comes back to who?
Christopher Ponto.
And, Your Honor, I can explain that as well.
Well, I hope so, because you told me you were in your car. You told me you were in you used a term that I asked you to, my drive car.
It's my daily driver, Your Honor.
Yeah, daily driver is what you used. Your daily driver.
I had a client named Christopher Ponto. My best friend is a gentleman named Victor Ponto. His son was incarcerated in the state penitentiary. I represented him. He had a car lease. I assumed the lease from Christopher Ponto, and I've been making the payments for him. The car is insured, it's registered, it's still in the name of Christopher Ponto, and I've been driving it, Your Honor. I've been making the payments, and it's still registered to Christopher Ponto. And
But Christopher Ponto is in prison.
he's incarcerated, Your Honor.
And that was in Clark County?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who did you appear in front of?
Your Honor, the case was originally in front
PANTO?
of... It was in front of Judge Wall, Your Honor.
PONTO?
PONTO, Your Honor. And Mr. Ponto had leased the car for his girlfriend, who was the complaining witness in the case. He received 12 to 32 or 12 to 40. I I assumed the lease on Mr. Ponto's car. I've been making the payments, I have the insurance in my name, and that's my daily driver. So the car was hit from behind. There's minimal damage in the back, there's substantial damage in the front. And it's
This is Basil Dylan Morgan, 25, a man who stood trial in 2016 of August for theft after threatening a man and stealing his motorcycle. Morgan has a swastika within a clover pattern etched underneath his left eye. The words "most wanted" on his forehead and "baby neck," you know what I'm saying, on his neck, and white tattoos instead of eyebrows. Now, the judge in that case allowed Morgan to go through makeup every day before the trial to cover up those tattoos. He was still found guilty. Morgan finds himself back in trouble with the law. This time, Morgan is charged in the murder case with breaking into Jean Maine's home in northwest Las Vegas, hitting the 75-year-old woman with a pistol so hard that the trigger guard broke into pieces, then giving her a dome shot in which Jean Maine passed away. So he's back in front of a judge, only this time it's Michelle Levitt. Again, Miss Levitt is in the headlines. She denied the defense lawyer's request to order makeup for Basil Dylan Morgan, saying she believes fair and impartial jurors can be found who will disregard Morgan's tattoos, even if they don't like them. Because it would be too much to fit all this into one video, we're going to do a to be continued. And it will upload tomorrow 100%. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your notification bell is turned to all. Because, as you can see, there is one last bombshell that's attached to Judge Michelle Levitt. So, tomorrow we will find out what happens to the lawyer that showed up drunk. And we will get into this. It's unbelievable. My name is Disorderly Product News, wishing you and yours a very safe and happy rest of the work week. I'll see you tomorrow, because we got some stuff to go over. Good night.